the podcast She Lived the Life She Loved. My name is Ruby Cannon. Thank you for joining me. And today on this episode, I'm going to be talking about the term cuckooing, and I'm going to be also talking about what county lines mean. So to start off with, cuckooing is a practice where people take over a person's home and use the property to facilitate exploitation. So the term cuckooing actually comes from cuckoos who take over the nests of other birds. The different types of cuckooing that can take place are using the property to deal, store or take drugs, using the property for sex work, taking over the property as a place for the abuser to live, or taking over the property to financially abuse the tenant. When this happens, the most vulnerable people are targeted. So these vulnerable people can sometimes have learning disabilities, mental health illnesses, physical disabilities, or are just socially isolated and do not have a good support network around them. What drug dealers will do is they will have more than one cuckooed address set up, so they can move around more quickly to avoid detection. This makes it really hard for the police to track and to get someone prosecuted. At the moment, gangs that initiate this cuckooing strategy do not get punished, specifically for the abuse of cuckooing, only for drug possession. So right now, there is not actually a law to say that it is considered an actual crime. The Labour MP Jess Phillips, who serves Birmingham Yardley, and former Conservative leader Ian Duncan Smith are actually leading calls for it to be criminalised under the 2015 the 2015 Modern Day Slavery Act. I was reading up that Jess Phillips actually said that we must outlaw this exploitation of vulnerable people, threatened and manipulated by drug gangs who take over their home. We cannot leave them any longer to suffer behind closed doors at risk of being prosecuted themselves. So if you do not know anything about Jess Phillips, she is an amazing MP. I'm not interested in politics, but you can tell she really is passionate about the subjects she talks about. She has been Shadow Minister for Domestic Violence and Safeguarding in Keir Starmer's opposite front bench since 2020, and she does such amazing work. I first heard about her earlier this year when I watched her on the BBC News channel back in March of this year, I think it was, and she read out all of the names of the women in the UK that had died due to domestic violence since the last International Women's Day. That speech, I can't even, it was so moving, it left a lump in my throat. That's when I first started really being a big fan of hers. I started looking her up, and she does this speech every year. And the most worrying thing is that it took so long to list all of their names. The saddest thing was that there was only a handful of women sitting on the benches. Nobody else bothered to turn up. And from my memory, there was no men there. And that was so sad that nobody else was passionate about this. So if anybody has a moment, please have a look at her speech on YouTube. She is an amazing woman, and she actually inspires me to do these podcasts and speak out and help other people in the same situation. So back to the cuckooing, who is the MP of Chingford and Woodford Green, he also said, "It cannot be right that the invasion of someone's home by gangs for criminal purposes is out of reach of the Modern Day Slavery Act. This isn't a drug crime or a property crime. It is a crime that devastates vulnerable people in the very place that should be their sanctuary. I cannot believe that this still is not considered a crime. It ruins lives. So this is where I move on to talk about the term county lines. So this is a form of criminal exploitation that happens when a criminal will befriend a child who is vulnerable and will go on to manipulate them into drug dealing. The term lines refers to the mobile phones that are used to control the child. The child, who tends to come from a city in a lot of cases, will be sent to deliver drugs, often to more rural towns outside of their county. Heroin, cocaine and crack cocaine are the most common drugs in need of supply. Young people aged between 14 and 17 are most likely to be targeted by criminal groups, but there are reports of 7-year-olds being groomed into county lines. 7-year-olds. Let's just think about that for a second. 7-year-old children being made to travel with backpacks full of drugs on transport to places that they've never been to be exploited. Primary school children are seen as easy targets because they are less likely to be caught. I can't believe I was writing this today, this podcast, and I honestly could not believe how young these children are. It's disgusting. The grooming might start with them being asked to keep watch, but it soon escalates into them being forced to stash weapons, money, or become drug couriers. 90% of English police officers have seen county lines activity in their area, and the violence is getting worse. 4 in 5 parents are worried about county lines in their local area. So it doesn't matter where you're from or your social background, children from any community can be groomed into county lines. However, those from poorer households who regularly skip school or have problems at home may be at more risk. The gangs tend to target these children by promising them lots of money to feed their families, nice clothes, flashy trainers, jewelry, cigarettes, alcohol, and a lot of times they don't get anything. So the signs of exploitation, if you're a parent and your child has been acting a bit not themselves, please look into this, because I know it seems so out there and slay. It's happening more and more, especially with all this social media, technology, phones, PlayStations, Xboxes, all these children that are going online and they're meeting people in these forums when they're playing. That's how these children are getting targeted now. A few years back, it used to be, face to face, meet them outside their school, when they're walking home. But now, the criminals don't even have to make that much of an effort. They don't even have to do that face to face. Everything is just online now, and it's so scary. So you might notice a child has multiple mobile phones, comes home with unexplained injuries or bruising, and suddenly has new trainers they can't afford. These could all be indicators that a young person is in trouble. So travelling alone, particularly in school hours, late at night, or frequently going out to answer the phone, looking lost or unfamiliar in surroundings. So if you're out and you're commuting to work, and you see a child and they don't really look like they know the area very well, this could be a really big sign. If they're anxious, frightened, angry, or displaying other behaviours that are making you worried about them. So all of a sudden, maybe your child, has become really frustrated at things. They're kicking off at home. They don't want to talk to you. They're locking themselves in their bedroom. They're just being really unsociable. And they're not being as open as usual. That could all be signs. Carrying lots of cash. So you've all of a sudden seen that your child has a lot of cash that you can't vouch for, you can't remember giving to them, and they don't have very good excuses as to why they have it, or their story keeps changing as to why they have this amount of cash. Potentially under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So again, is your child just randomly acting out? This is a whole completely different person. You don't feel like, you don't see your child anymore. They're not being them, basically. Are they being instructed or controlled by another individual? So if you're again at your train station and you're looking in and you're seeing this child, are they being instructed or controlled by another individual, accompanied by individuals who are older than them? So again, this may be, this may not be anything. You have to be careful, but this could mean a lot. So also, if you've seen them begging in a public space, just trust your natural instincts here. Especially if you have children, you know your own children. You know your own children inside and out. From you know them probably more than you know yourself. So if you do have any sort of doubt, please investigate into this, because the quicker that you can get it sorted, the better outcome it is for this child. If you would like more information on this subject, there is a campaign being run by the Children's Society, which is called #LookCloser. They are providing information about the signs to look for if you suspect someone is being targeted. I do believe you can sign up to be a part of the campaign on their website, and I think what they do is they'll send you over an email with loads of different materials, so you can put it on your Instagram page, spread awareness on your Facebook, your socials, and a lot of charities that do this, they also give you posters that you can download and print off, so you can hand them out into your local area and get people talking, basically. It's such a big problem, and it's getting out of hand now. It's getting out of control. What do we do? What do we do about it? It's getting so big that there's not enough people to tackle it. There's not enough police to tackle it, and that is just so worrying. My friend's got a little girl and she just turned 5, and she's like a niece to me, like she's like really close to me, and it does make me so scared as to what this world is coming to for children that are growing up in this generation. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. I hope this gave you some awareness. Please have a look at the Children's Society, because they do such an amazing job for things like this. And please have a look at Jess Phillips, because she is absolutely amazing. She is really good. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have an amazing day, guys. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for all of your support. I love you guys. Bye-bye.